Have you ever shared something really vulnerable with somebody and then you weren't met with a good response? And then you replied by saying, "How can you do that? I'm being really vulnerable here." Well, in this video, I'm going to speak to the response that you gave to their bad response. We're going to go into the shadow side of vulnerability and how you can hold yourself in those moments where you're feeling really sensitive and somebody else isn't able to hold you in it. It's really scary to open up and to share vulnerable things about yourself and how you are feeling. And in an ideal world, you're met with love and empathy and compassion. You're given validation and reassurance. However, in the real world, a lot of people don't even know what empathy is, and they might be processing their own triggers and not able to hold space for what it is that you're feeling. Being vulnerable means being able to be transparent about what it is that you're feeling and thinking and allowing those uncomfortable feelings to be known. I'm going to share with you at the end of this video about how you can do that, how you can create a safe container for yourself as well as for the other person when they're not able to hold you in your sensitivity. But before that, I want to go into the shadow side of vulnerability. So the shadow side of vulnerability is when we're in that really sensitive space and we express something, we're not met with an ideal response, and we start to place demands and expectations on somebody else about how they should handle us in those moments. They should agree with us. They should be supportive. They should not say anything. In that, we're using our vulnerability to manipulate the other person. They may not know how to hold space. They may not know how to hold space for themselves and their emotions, so they're definitely not going to know how to hold space for you and your emotions. A lot of people are not taught what empathy is. They're not modeled it. So in those moments, rather than reprimanding them and shunning them and shaming them for not doing something that they don't know how to do, instead model it. Do it for yourself as well as doing it for them. Offer yourself the response that you would like to receive from them. And I'll speak about how to do that in a little bit in this video. I want to talk about those moments when you share something vulnerable and it triggers something inside of somebody else. Now, rather than saying it's not okay for them to feel that way or it's not okay for them to think that way and creating further disconnection and suppression of their authentic reaction in the name of your vulnerability and the need for safety, because that's not creating a safe space for them. Instead, let's talk about another way of how you can handle this situation. Because when you need to create such a controlled environment of what somebody can and cannot do in your presence, then you are not creating a sense of safety for yourself. There's no way to be able to continue to maintain that kind of control over other people. And in that, you're handing over your power to somebody else, and you're not allowing for genuine responses to exist, which is how we evolve, which is how we connect, which is where real intimacy comes from. So when I talk about not manipulating people with your vulnerability, when you share something sensitive and you're not met with a good response, then to continue to share what is alive inside of you, to stay connected to what you're feeling, what you're needing. And what you're needing might be empathy, love, support, compassion. So offer that to yourself. It is what you need, is not what you need from them. Instead of shunning and shaming and controlling that person, continue to share what's going on inside of you. When you share from this place, you're connected to your emotions. You continue to stay connected to your vulnerability, rather than going into your defenses and attacking. If you start to attack somebody, they're going to need to defend themselves, so it's going to create further disconnection. When you continue to maintain a connection of what's going on inside of you, it's going to be easier for that person to lean in. They might have to work through their own shame of the response it is that they had to be able to connect to you, but still you're creating a safer environment both for yourself and the other person. So I hope this was helpful on bringing some awareness to the shadow side of vulnerability and how you can continue to maintain connection with yourself and bring vulnerability to the interactions that you have, even if you're not being met in an ideal way. Please share one thing below in the comments that you took from this video, or put any questions that you have around how to hold safety for yourself in those moments of where you're feeling really vulnerable and somebody else isn't meeting you in an ideal way. Make sure to like, subscribe, and notify so that you can continue to get my weekly videos to support you on the path of personal development and living full, free, and fearlessly.